That's exactly what he said.
Got a video today.
His email.
Yeah, he's quite the guy.
Got to sign in first.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Did you bring popsicles, James?
I left them in the freezer. I didn't know it was my turn.
Go see what's in there.
Adult popsicles. Actually, make some popsicles.
I remember making those nice cheddar.
So
I just used the. I can grab that sweet.
I'm very baby.
I use raspberries.
I'm
Oh,
like,
sure.
So I just ground those raspberries and put a little bit of honey and then just water and some
Wow.
They were good.
Very good.
And so then I went on a tear and I decided to make one. I ground up cucumber and lime.
Probably empty. Never quite. I'm sure you think it's appropriate. Vanilla. Does that count? That's cute.
I was actually truly like just have
Well, those are pretty favorite recipes.
Well, like, I was like inspired because some ladies or something.
Well, do they have like roadside stands?
No, they were like strawberry bagel, lavender,
oh, you're here. Yeah,
Shannon's good. Now we can get started.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see if they follow through or not.
That would be my. I know. I read the research. The research. Probably with what you.
Okay, because it still says that.
All right, is everyone ready? This meeting of the Livingston City Commission is called to order. May we have roll call, please?
Chairperson Bennett.
I'm present.
Commissioner Copeland. Here. Commissioner Friedman.
Here.
Commissioner Schwartz.
Present.
Commissioner Sandberg.
Present.
We'll now have a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Let's slide to the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our first order of business are consent items. Is there a motion from the commission on the consent items for tonight? Commissioner Sandberg.
Can I ask that item D just be removed for a separate discussion? I'm just not clear on what's being requested.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is there a motion
Is
on
that D or B?
D as in dog.
D. That's an essay.
So is there a motion on consent items A through C?
I make a motion to pass consent items A, B, C.
I'll second.
So there's a motion by Commissioner Friedman, second by Commissioner Hoagland. Roll call, please.
Chairperson Bennett,
Yes?
Commissioner Copeland,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Four.
Commissioner Sandberg,
Or,
Motion passes. So Commissioner Sandberg, you have the floor on consent item B.
thank you. So, sorry, I was just quickly reviewing the letter that was submitted from the folks. So the letters, so is the Park County Historic and Genealogy Societies just submitted one together, one letter, or are there two separate ones that I missed? Just one, thank you. I know we've done this for other organizations, but what would be the actual fees involved in something like this?
I don't know if we have a standard fee for use of the cemetery. I don't think there's a standard fee. We can charge for public spaces. However, there are no other public events that have happened in the cemetery, so there isn't a standard fee.
Okay.
In this case, there's also no cost associated with this. We're not actually waiving any in-kind fees or anything like that. This is just allowing them to use the space at no charge.
Great, thank you.
Is there any other questions or clarification on consent item D? Is there a motion on consent item D?
I make a motion to pass resolution consent item D.
I'll second that.
So a motion by Commissioner Friedman, second by Commissioner Schwartz. Roll call, please.
Chairperson Bennett,
Yes.
Commissioner Copeland,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Four.
Commissioner Sandberg,
Or,
Motion passes. All right, tonight there are no proclamations, no scheduled public comment. However, we do have 6 public hearings. And our first public hearing is on resolution number 4741, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Livingston, Montana, increasing the water rate in the amount of 2% to become effective for July 2017 water usage billed in August. Mr. Curtis, do you have any preliminary statement on that?
I don't think there's any additional information in the chart that went out. I just would like to say that the combined chart did go out in the billing for all residents, so all residents did see both increases together, and they were able to see what that would do to their bill.
Okay. All right, this is a public hearing. This public hearing is now open. Is there anyone who would like to comment on resolutions 4741? If you do, just come up to the podium, sign your name and address, and state your name and address into the microphone for the record. And you may need to pull the microphone closer to you so that people in the back can hear.
My name is Dixie Lee Bullock. I live at 606 South 10th Street in Livingston. And I would like to address some water bills. I have talked to Mr. Bennett quite some time ago who did look into it, but there was nothing really resolved. I have bills, if you would like to look at them, that show that my mother and dad's water bills have been consistently, until just a month ago, they have been $62.67. My dad is deceased. My mother is in a facility. The water in the house is turned off. We recently turned the water on the 8th of July, I believe it was, to water the grass because it was dying. I have a well at my house, but I don't use it in the winter. But my bill was $61.15. And I do use water. I can't understand, and I have addressed it. The water's turned off in the house, and basically I didn't get any place until A month ago, I went down and I was treated rudely, which was okay because I can dish out what I get. Unfortunately, I was told that they guessed they would just have to trust me. Well, it shouldn't have to be a matter of trust. It should show when the meter is red. There is no water being used. There is no garbage unless someone is filling the cans, which I don't think so. The neighbors haven't. And I just wonder why the discrepancy.
Good question.
I'll pass it on to the
If you would like to
administration.
see the
I would like to
bills,
see those bills because I'd like to see the readings.
Right.
Oh, I'll get it.
there you go.
James, may I ask Dixie a question?
Just one moment. Yes, you may.
I had other people stop by my house regularly to see how I keep my yard so green. And it is because I use a well. I'm not using city water to water my lawn. So I did get a credit for $48 over the period of time, the year that we have paid $61 or $62 on my parents' home.
So Dixie,
Okay, if I may before, I just wanted to clarify this. This is. Am I looking at two?
You're looking at my bill in comparison to my mother and dad's. Theirs is Bud and Audrey Albright, mine is Dixie Lee Bullock.
Okay, because one of these, when you're reading off the number, I think what you're reading off is the total amount for the utility bill. Because all these water bills have just the base charge, which are $11.91. But the rest of the bill is the $62 is for the entire utility fees, for water, sewer, and garbage. And I believe that each one of these is the minimum charge. Would you want to take a look at those?
Well, I use my water and my bill is less than theirs and no one is using anything.
I'm trying to. So Dixie Lee Bullock, that's you.
Yes,
I see one of those. What's the name on that one? Okay, so on yours, Dixie, the water is 22, 17, 17, 14, 17, 14.
I don't have an objection to mine
Oh, okay.
because I just wanted you to be able to see the comparison
Mhm.
when the water isn't being used at my mother's house at all.
The only question I have is the only discrepancy I see. This is Dixie's, and she is using water, so there is variations. The only discrepancy I see here is the sewer is more over on this person's, and here it's consistently lower. That would be the only thing I noticed. Unless,
So sewer would be based on, if the water is on, would be based on the 3-month average, so that won't change. Whether or not, because we don't actually meter sewer usage. It's just based on the water consumption for December, January, and February, of the 3 months. So the sewer would be the same as long as the water is turned on. Garbage would be the same
for everyone.
for everyone. If there's there's a base rate, so that wouldn't change. And if the water is the same, then the bill would be exactly the same every month.
The only question I would have was that the sewer on property that's not being used is more than the sewer here that is being used. So the only question I would have is that, did you have any usage on this vacant property during the months of December, January, and February?
No, the house has been vacant for almost 2 years now. And the water has been turned off. It's just, my mother is still living, and so we haven't done anything.
What I would, if you don't mind, if you'd like me to hold on to these, and take them over to the,
Well, good luck with that. You're going to the city.
well,
I've been there a number of times.
well, would you mind if I held on to them
Not
and
at
tried
all.
to figure out why, I think when we talked and you told me the rates before,
Because you checked yours and you were surprised, I think, a little.
well, I was surprised on the sewer rate because that was the only one. I wasn't surprised on the water or the garbage because that's the standard flat fee. So on the one, that would be the only one I'd have a question on. So,
And I really think that the increase in water is going to be detrimental to people in Livingston because a lot of our people, the people who live in their homes are living on Social Security, maybe a small retirement, and an increase in water and sewer and taxes and whatever else comes up, it's very difficult. I mean, I do okay because I don't have any other expenses. But if I didn't have a well, my yard would look like everybody else's burned up. I guess that's all I have to say.
okay, now, I think one of the commissioners has something to question on.
Okay.
Commissioner Sandberg?
The dialogue answered my question, so thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you
Thank you, Betsy, appreciate it.
for listening to my.
Oh, no problem.
But a follow-up for Mr. Cardos in regards to the rates. So maybe I need better glasses than what I have, but I thought on my latest bill that my sewer rate was higher because my water consumption is higher.
Your sewer rate should not change based on usage. It is based off of the 3-month average.
And when you mean usage, so when the water usage goes up in the summer because people are watering their lawns, they're have a higher charge, aren't they?
Only for water, not for sewer.
So
Okay.
we only do it in the winter months.
The-
Sewage.
The rate for sewer is set by your use of water during December, January, and February.
So our sewer rate never changed for 12 months.
That's correct.
It changes only when they redo the average, the 3-month average.
Once a year.
Well, your personal rate.
So apparently I need to relook at my bill then.
Yeah,
Okay.
because, because
And that was specifically done because of watering the lawns in the summer. So you choose months where, because if they're watering their lawns or washing their car, they're not using the sewer for that water. So that's why it shows in the winter when almost all the water that's used actually goes into the sewer system.
Okay, I thought that's why we had the irrigation.
The meters,
Yeah, the
If you have-
irrigation meters.
if you have a sprinkling system, you can actually put a meter on it, but it won't change anything
Okay,
because, and that only works if you actually have a true irrigation system. For people that just water it with a sprinkler or a hose, a meter's not gonna help with that.
okay. Thank you.
All right, is there any more public comment? Is there anyone who would like to comment on the water rate adjustment for resolution 4741? Do be sure to state your name and address for the record and over the microphone and sign in, or if you've already signed it.
Yes, hi, my name is Joffrey Chase, I live at 424 North 6th Street. And commenting on the water and sewer increase, put yourself in our shoes for just a moment. You get a note in the mail, and I mean with your monthly card, and it's got a chart. Thank you for the chart, it's very helpful. But it doesn't have any explanation as to why the water or the sewer rate is going to go up. So my comment is, for the next time that the water sewer rate is to change, it would be very helpful to see what the city's total revenues were for the previous fiscal year and the city's total expenses for water, and then again for sewer. That's it.
All right, thank you very much, Jeffrey. All right, is there any more public comment on resolution 4741 about water rates? Any other public comment? Third call, public comment on resolution 4741. At this Public hearing for resolution 4741 is now closed. Is there a motion from the commission on resolution 4741?
I make a motion to pass resolution 4741.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
So there's a motion by Commissioner Friedman, second by Commissioner Schwartz. Commission discussion, comments, clarification? Commissioner Sandberg?
Thank you. I'd just like to state that, as in the previous meeting, I will be voting against both this and the sewer rate increases. And the reason why is the amount of revenue generated with these increases equates similarly to what we pay in a rate increase for the folks in those departments. And so I would rather see a more lively discussion amongst the commission in the future on discussing passing on raises and rate increases to the public. And if there's another way that if we're going to approve to have raises for employees, that maybe something else maybe waits a few years to balance the budget. But I obviously don't have the exact answer for that, but I would like to have more of an engaged commission discussion on those scenarios in the future. Thank you.
Any other commission comments? I think the only thing I'd like to say, because some new people have come out to comment on the rate increases, is that I think this particular year, and please correct me, administration, correct me if I'm wrong, there's always going to be a part of the rate increase that has to do with employee costs. That's pretty much a given. When we're already at budget time and we are under a 1, 2, or 3 year contract with employees, we don't have any choice at that point but to include it into the budget, that increase in salaries. So whatever percentage that is for this year, whether it's 50% of the increase, 75% of the increase, or 25% of the increase, that is a part of the budget increase as well, as Commissioner Sandberg mentioned. Other things that increases are used for are buying new equipment where equipment has been used or is worn out, used for adding to the cost of infrastructure replacement. So those are probably 3 of the largest areas that the rate increases are adjusting for. So I just wanted to at least leave people with that idea, since there was a question being what the rate increase was being used for. I think that's a general umbrella that almost seems universal when we do a rate increase, that part of it's going to be for personnel cost increase, new equipment, and infrastructure replacement. Those are basically the big 3 that we deal with anyway. Would that be, from the administration standpoint, would that be an accurate assessment of the rate increase? Okay. Is there any other commission discussion? Okay. All right, may we have roll call, please?
Chairperson Bennett?
Yes?
Commissioner Hoagland?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
For.
Commissioner Schwartz?
For.
Commissioner Sandberg?
Against.
Motion passes. Our next public hearing is for resolution number 4742, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Livingston, Montana, increasing the sewer rate in the amount of 2% to become effective for July 2017 sewer usage and billed in August. Mr. Cardis, do you have any preliminary comments?
The only clarifying comments I'd make on this is that this increase is specifically tied to USDA requirements for the loans and the grants we received, or will receive shortly for the water reclamation facility construction project. So in this case, USDA had requirements that the fees had to make a certain percentage, and that was done prior to them being able to give us the loan and the grant. So that's driving this particular increase.
Can you inform the public about approximately how much that loan grant was for?
The loan was $5 million, and the grant is $1.76 million. So total almost $7 million.
All right.
Can I seek clarification
No.
on that?
Oh,
That was
Yes.
abrupt.
yeah. Well, I was ready to go to the public hearing.
Lord.
Oh, yes. What was the clarification?
What was the percentage requirement?
Paige, you have that with you?
I don't recall.
It
He
was-
didn't give
I
us
remember
exact
seeing that.
numbers. This was a discussion that we had with him, but he hadn't provided us.
Who's him?
Steve Trundle from USDA is the one that's working our loan and grant, and he actually worked the increases, and that was the increase that he required to meet his requirements. And I don't know the exact percentage off the top of my head, but it was to service loan debt.
I'm just trying to understand because even with the discussions of what you've both explained, that these increases go to infrastructure. If we look at what the salary increase is for each of these funds, it's almost equal to the rate increase.
This is a public hearing time. It's not time for us to comment. You wanted a point for clarification.
Well, I'm just making sure that accurate information is being provided to the community. And so I'm not, I guess what I'm hearing doesn't make sense to me with the numbers that we were provided.
I can certainly clarify that when we get to commission comment.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much. This public hearing is now open for Resolution 4742, which is the public hearing for increasing sewer rate in the amount of 2%. Is there any public comment?
Do I need to comment on this again?
You don't, you only can need to comment if you want to. Is there any public comment? Okay. You've already signed in, but go ahead just for the recording, state your name and address for the record, Jen.
Sure. My name is Joffrey Chase, 424 North 6th Street. Speaking on the sewer rate increase, I'd like to comment in favor of a sewer rate increase, actually a bigger increase, like a 5% increase, if I could know that that increased rate was going toward not paying as much interest like down the road on borrowing for a new sewer plant. But the only way to know that would be to know, to be able to see like what the what the expenses are to the city and then how much revenue we're getting. So, and just to clarify, this is not speaking in favor of a water rate increase, not in favor of that. Just speaking of the sewer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other public comment on resolution number 4742? Any other public comment? Public comment on resolution 4742. This public hearing on resolution 4742 is now closed. Is there a motion from the commission?
I make a motion we pass resolution 4742.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so there is a motion by Commissioner Friedman, a second by Commissioner Schwartz. Okay, now we open it up for commission discussion, clarification, if there's any other points. Commissioner Schwartz.
Yeah, in regard to Joffrey's questions, is our website updated with the proposed budget? Do we have that on our website or no?
For the next annual budget,
Yeah, about the numbers we're talking about. I mean, so he could easily glean this information that we, as commissioners, have readily available.
we made it available during the budget hearings.
Right.
We don't keep it posted until it's approved.
Gotcha, okay. Although last year's would be on there.
Yes, last year's available, and we also have a copy available, a hard copy available in my office, if
Right.
people want to come in and review it.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
That's actually not correct. Our preliminary budget is available on our website,
Okay,
under the finance departments.
okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Sandberg, do you have a clarification?
Well, yeah, I guess I just would like, on the sewage, I mean, what do we have, if I read it, maybe I'm remembering completely incorrectly, but the revenue generated, with the 2% increase was roughly, how much? It's very minimal, it's like 14,000 or something.
14 to 20,000.
Yeah, and wasn't that also what the raises equated to?
In general, I mean, it's close to the same number, yes.
Yeah. So I guess I don't understand saying that the money's going to help with infrastructure when if we did not give raises, we would still be providing the same infrastructure without having to raise rates. So I'm not understanding the logic.
I think this will be a wholly unsatisfying answer for you, but it just depends on how you do the accounting. In this case, if you didn't do rates, you may or may not have to raise, because it was a rounding area, but you'd still have to raise some to meet the requirements. Obviously, the infrastructure costs more. There is increased costs, not just in salary. So those increased costs all contribute to the increase in rates evenly across. You could pick out any one of those and say if that amount equal the raise, and say it's that fault. But in actuality, all those increases in costs come together to come to the rate. You could eliminate any one of them and perhaps get back down to where you would need to raise the rates. But there is increased costs across the board in all those areas.
Mm-hmm.
So it just depends on which one you want to focus on to come up to the same amount.
Well, I guess I would just,
Because the fund balance isn't zero,
so we have carryover.
we have carryover. So you could pay for infrastructure without raising rates, but that doesn't mean it isn't an increase in infrastructure costs.
Sure.
You could give raises and not do an infrastructure rate, and you wouldn't need the increase as well. So you could say it's the infrastructure's cost.
Right.
So just depending on which increase you look at, you can say that that is the culprit in this case that drives the cost. But actually, it's all of them together eat up the reserve and then the required additional from USDA loan.
Right.
So it just depends on how you want to look at it, really. All of them contribute, but you can certainly single anyone out and say, if we got rid of that, whether that be the infrastructure, the USDA loan, or salary.
Right. And I guess that's why when I reiterated previously that I just feel as commissioners, we need to be more engaged on how those decisions are made for the city, because there are a lot of moving entities with perception as well. And I still, and I guess we can talk about this, we don't necessarily have to talk about it here, but I guess I wasn't aware that we had to have our rates at a certain level to qualify for the loan. Did everyone else know that? And I just missed it?
Yeah, basically, if I may,
Yeah.
because we're below the minimum, what the state required, state average is. I know it's kind of weird, you know, hey, keep our rates low, but then we can't qualify for the loan unless we raise rates. You know,
And it's
sense.
it's both the federal and the state requirement.
Yeah.
Basically, the intent is to ensure that the city is doing its part to contribute to the construction, and that they're not just giving you all the money for a project.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Is there any other commission discussion, clarification, Commissioner Holcomb?
I just have more of a statement, but one thing I know, it's frustrating for our community and for people when we do raise our rates, but one of the things I know as a commissioner for the time I've been on is we have just in that short time scrambled to fix decades of neglect, financial neglect of our infrastructure. And so it's frustrating to have to ask for increases. And, you know, whether the money's coming from water here towards whatever, it's not necessarily the issue that I'm talking about. It's that I want people to know that we're scrambling to try to fix. And we want to make sure that the future is here as well for the future of our infrastructure is here as well for other generations. And so, you know, it's the last thing we want to do is increase rates, but we also have to in some ways. So just more of a statement.
All right, is there any other commission discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Chairperson Bennett,
Yes?
Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman,
Or
Commissioner Schwartz,
Or
Commissioner Sandberg.
Against.
motion passes. Our next public hearing resolution is resolution number 4743, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Livingston, Montana, estimating the cost of maintaining and improving streets and alleys in furtherance of the 5-year capital improvement plan for Street Maintenance District Number 1 for fiscal year 2017, 2018, in the estimated amount of $978,230, which is a 1% increase from the prior fiscal year, and levying and assessing 100% of the estimated costs against every parcel, of property within said district for that part of the cost which is accessible, which its accessible area bears to the accessible area of the district. Mr. Curtis, do you have any clarifying statements?
The only thing I'd like to clarify is maybe a little confusing that it's street maintenance district number 1, but that's the entire city. There is only one street maintenance district, and it involves the entire city.
All right. This public hearing is open for resolution number 4743. Is there any public hearing, public comment?
Question.
No.
Brief, should I come up?
Yes, you come up to the podium, write your name and address in the book, and then state your name and address for the record over the microphone.
Address? Yes?
Yes, name and address.
So, what was this, 4743?
This is resolution 4743, which is the street maintenance.
Thank you.
Hi, Bill Watkins. Nice to see everyone. Appreciate it. Especially the North Fields, soccer fields. Really proud of that, just being here. It's really beautiful. So, good question. Does that include sidewalks and gutters? This resolution and this maintenance, this budget?
So the street maintenance is for streets and gutters. It does not include sidewalks. Sidewalks are property owner responsibilities.
That includes full sidewalk repairs, cement, all of that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you very much. Is there any other public comment on resolution 4743? Please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and be sure to sign in.
I think you took the pen.
Mr. Watkins, did you take the pen?
Oh, I took the pen. It was not on purpose. It's sorry. It's unintentional. No man's right.
Matter of respect.
I think he was talking to the police officer.
Oh.
Just kidding. Patricia Grabo, 204 East Calendar Street, Livingston. I have some clarification. I'd just like to figure out this, and then this particular amount of money. Now, last winter we had 3 different meetings with the Public Works Department, and which the URA agreed to fill in the underground if we, in fact, in June, would do Calendar Street and Main Street within 200 feet of Lewis Street. So that was approximately $900,000 that was going to be coming out of this budget starting in July. Then we had that special meeting in which Dan Call and John Gardner and a lot of people were there, saying we really shouldn't do it starting in June, and because it would interfere with the business season. So we were reassured at the time, and we did a survey of the downtown building owners, did a survey of 72 identified businesses and building owners on the affected area. We couldn't contact 24. Of those who we did contact, there was about 85% who wanted to just go ahead, do the streets and be starting in June, and not relinquish run the risk of losing that $900,000 out of the CIP budget, as we had the previous 3 years. The previous 3 years came to a total of $890,000 that was not put into the streets. It was transferred to the Public Works Department because we didn't do those streets for those 3 years. So we were concerned that we could again lose a significant amount of money, which would come to $1,700,900. So we never really did have a formal city commission vote on this, but it was decided somehow, and this is what puzzles me, is how the CIP actually works in its implementation. So my understanding in talking with the finance officer is that this amount is to go to the taxpayers and get a whole new tax that covers that $900,000, because $900,000 that the Public Works Department said to Dan Call would even be put into escrow was in fact not put into escrow. It was put into paying other bills, and that we would now have a new tax that we would go to the taxpayers to cover those streets on Callender and Main down within 200 feet of Lewis Street. I need to know what is true. I need to know, in fact, did that $900,000 that was part of the CIP go back into the budget? And in fact, now this is a new tax that is put on the taxpayers, everybody in town, to cover the fact that the Public Works Department did not, and that the city did not do what it said it was going to do to Dan Collins, Joy Gardner, and all of us who were at that meeting. I just need to know what happened to that $900,000 in the CIP that was geared towards doing the streets starting in hopefully February or March of next year.
I may just answer a part of that. I can answer a part of that. No money that was raised for street maintenance was ever used for anything else but street maintenance. That's an absolute given.
Yeah, I know,
It
but
didn't,
where?
it didn't go to pay other bills, and it didn't go into some other budgetary fund. As far as the meetings goes, I can't answer that. Maybe the administration can address that for you, but I don't know what happened in those particular meetings and the conversations.
I attended all of them. So in other words, it isn't available now to go into doing those streets starting in February or March for next year. For just, all I'm interested right now is Callender, the 2 blocks of Callender and the block of Main Street within 200 miles of 200 feet of Lewis Street. Is that money available for those specific things? You said it went into street maintenance. Was it street maintenance somewhere else in the city, or is it still set aside to do downtown?
I'm going to let the administration answer more details here. Commissioner Sandberg?
So Patricia, from what I understand, and we've got multiple entities that you presented here. So as James says, it's been used, funds have always been used in the street maintenance. And then when downtown is not being worked on during a given year, streets around town are being, you can see some of the work that Shannon and his team's been doing. So that's where the funds are going. After attending those meetings that you're referring to, and I attended them as well, and I would welcome Shannon to correct me if I'm incorrect, But my understanding is what was decided by the Public Works Department is, with listening to the community, business owners downtown, that they did not want 2 summers disrupted in downtown Livingston with construction. They wanted to do a bigger section in one summer. So my understanding of how this funding is going to work, we're currently looking at the 18 budget. So these funds that we're approving here in this resolution, which normally we're used to seeing that activity happening right now in our downtown area. My understanding is this is the same funding mechanism that we vote each year for the streets around town. So these funds will actually not be expended until earlier in the spring when they start the double project downtown of creating 2 years in one. And then again, next year, when we look at our budget the same time next year, those funds will be spent that actual next summer immediately, because we will be in the midst of creating, reworking 2 years of needs in one summer.
Okay, so that would be calendar Maine and then going to Lewis, and there's additional construction that's going to be done.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
And Shannon, did I articulate that correctly?
Perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah. I really appreciate that, because I had called the finance, I was confused by it. I really appreciate that. The fact that the additional work will be done as well. It's greatly appreciated. I do want to say something. I have been coming to city commission meetings for 18 years. Right back in Livingston in 1999, and I started coming to the city commission meetings. I wasn't elected until 2004, but I attended all the time prior to 2004. So for 18 years, I have come to city commission meetings. 18 years ago, Clint Tinsley sat here and said, the only reason we're putting this huge amount of money into the Public Works Department is because we've neglected Livingston for all this period of time and we're trying to catch up. That's 18 years ago. So this is a process that is been going on so for a significant amount of time. So I think it's really important for the community to take a look at this and say, well, we can't prioritize this because we're now doing what we have neglected. In fact, more work was done in Livingston, Montana. Clint Tinsley did all of those when he was the Public Works Director. Some of you were here. All those roads on the east side of town were paved. I mean, the amount of work done by the Public Works Department is pretty significant. So, and I want to say one other thing. There's a huge effort, and gratefully, Public Works Director is talking with Dan Durkin and Dan Call and a lot of citizens about taking a serious look at getting all the downtown streets done within 2 years, as opposed to the 10 years that this body voted on under the PER. And can I say how much that is endorsed by everybody I have talked to downtown, and there's a great rationale. We do not want our streets torn up for the next 10 years. Frankly, our downtown will die. So thank you for clarifying this, and let's take a serious look at the future and get those streets done now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tricia. Is there any other public comment? Any other public comment on resolution 4743? Last call for a public comment on resolution 4743. This public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion from the commission on resolution 4743?
I make a motion we pass resolution 4743.
I'll second.
So there's a motion by Commissioner Friedman and a second by Commissioner Hoagland. Is there any other questions, discussion, clarification from the commission before we vote? Hearing none, may we have roll call, please?
Chairperson Bennett,
Yes?
Commissioner Hoagland. Yes. Commissioner Friedman.
Four.
Commissioner Schwartz.
Four.
Commissioner Sandberg.
Or
Motion passes. Our next public hearing is for resolution number 4744, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Livingston, Montana, estimating the cost of maintaining lights and supplying electrical current to Special Improvement Lighting District number 20 in the amount of $44,800 for fiscal year 2017, 2018, and levying and assessing 100% of the estimated cost against every parcel of property within said district. For that part of the cost which its assessable area bears to the assessable area of the district. Mr. Cardos, any comments before we begin?
I'd just like to clarify that this resolution will be followed by another one that's for the infrastructure for lights. This is just for actually the electrical cost replacement bulb.
Okay. Great. So, public hearing for resolution number 4744 for electrical current and bulb replacement is now open to the public. Is there any comment? Comments on resolution 4744? Last call. This public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion from the commission on resolution 4744?
I move to approve resolution 4744.
Second.
So there's a motion by Commissioner Schwartz and a second by Commissioner Friedman. Is there any questions, clarification, discussion from the commission? Roll call, please.
Chairperson Bennett,
Yes?
Commissioner Hilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman,
Four.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Four.
Commissioner Sandberg.
Four.
Motion passes. Our next public hearing is for resolution number 4745, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Livingston, Montana, modifying Special Improvement Lighting District number 20 by replacing street lights and other appurtenances therein, and to levy and assess 100% of the estimated costs of $91,120 for fiscal year 2017, 2018 against every parcel of property within said district for that part of the cost which its accessible area bears to the accessible area of the district. Mr. Cardos?
Only thing I have on this one is the appurtenances in District 20 is the entire city. Again, District 20 is the entire city. Appurtenances is one of my favorite words.
Couldn't hear.
So District 20 is just the entire city. There is only one light district.
All right. So the public hearing for resolution number 4745 is now open for comment. Public hearing.
Commissioner Grable, 204 East Calendar, Livingston. I want to be on record for both of these and to say that as a person who's benefited from the kind of lighting that is in front of the Grable at this point, as opposed to the, I used to call it gooseneck lighting that was falling apart and rusting and we were still paying for. I just think this is a terrific idea. And I want to just endorse what the commission is doing tonight in both of those areas. Also, before our sidewalks were done, people tripped. We had a couple of pretty serious problems and we were very conscientious. We filled in any holes in our sidewalk, but we had no incidents. So it's a safety measure as well. So thank you. Good endorsement.
All right, thank you very much, Patricia. Is there any other public comment on resolution 4745? Last call for public comment on resolution 4745. This public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion from the commission on resolution 4745?
I'll make a motion to approve for resolution number 4745.
I'll second.
So there's a motion by Commissioner Schwartz, second by Commissioner Hoagland. Any other comments, clarification, discussion from the commission? Roll call, please.
Chairperson Bennett,
Yes?
Commissioner Holton,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman.
Four.
Commissioner Schwartz.
Four.
Commissioner Sandberg.
Motion passes. Our last public hearing resolution tonight is for resolution number 4740, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Livingston, Montana, approving and adopting the final budget in the amount of $17,535,328 for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2017 and ending June 30th, 2018, and making appropriations and establishing spending limits and authorizing transfer of appropriations within the same fund. Any comments to begin with, Mr. Cardus?
The only comment I would like to make, Mr. Chairman, is that this is the entire budget, not just the general fund, so it includes all the revenue funds and all other bonds. Any money that the city is spending is included in this figure.
Excuse me. So public hearing for resolution number 4740 is now open. Is there any public comment? Go ahead and sign in and state your name and address for the record.
Mary Beebe, 219 South East Street. Among many of the hats that I wear, one of them is the coordinator for the Spay Neuter project. I'm here to request that the $5,000 that the city provides for the Spay Neuter efforts, low cost Spay Neuter efforts, be restored to the animal control budget. Which my understanding is that when we passed an increase in licensing fees and redid our animal care ordinance in 2009, we increased the unspayed, unneutered licensing fee to $75. Many people at that time said, oh, you cannot do that. It will prevent people from licensing their animals, and it will prevent people of limited means to get their animals licensed because they will not be able to get their animals spayed and neutered. And we said, and this was an agreement between the commission and the administration at that time. So it's sort of an institutional history that's been lost, but we said we will provide this service so that we can say that people can choose to leave their animals unneutered, unspayed. There's plenty of good reasons for that, and many people do it, but it's a choice. We did a lot of research on mandatory spay neuter and those sorts of things before we redid the ordinance. And we said we will have this extra money that will be provided so that the financial barrier to spay and neuter and the lower licensing fee will be mitigated. It would be removed, actually, it has for people who need it. So, you know, we provided for that. We had a payer source. The other thing is that in reality, we save a lot of costs for the city. Judy has consulted with us quite a bit in the past. We were part of the Stafford Animal Shelter until we got our own 501c3, and the collaboration is still there, although it's more loosely defined now. We did 451 animals were spayed, neutered, and vaccinated, not with that 5,000, with all the funds that we get, including from the county. Of that, 134 were from the city, 70 were cats, and 64 were dogs. And that was for fiscal year 2016-17. I'm just asking to re-examine this and at least give us a reprieve for a year so we can catch up. Because my feeling is if you take away the ability of people to spay and neuter their animals, they find animals. I mean, this is not necessarily just a case of personal responsibility. But the reality is that we have helped a lot. And like infrastructure, I always say, like, you don't see the backup in water, and I mean in sewers. like you did before we started doing these replacement projects. We pump a lot less water than we did 10 years ago because of these replacements. Nobody sees that. So sometimes improvements are in things that you don't see. You don't see a lot of stray animals anymore. But when I first moved to town in 1995, there were 30 cats on D Street, just living under this house that was abandoned. And we didn't have a shelter. Now we have the two parts of this equation for animal control. We have the Stafford Animal Shelter and we have the spay neuter project. So like I say, it's two parts of the equation. If you take away our funding, it is our foundational funding. The county has provided $3,000. In the last several years, we've asked them for $5,000, but their budget constraints are little from different sources, but they're pretty tight in the last couple of years. So hopefully we'll still be able to get our funding there. We're a little different here with having our own funding source. So I'm asking you to at least give a reprieve for a year. Let us keep working on this project. We do get private money. We get money from grants. We have an ASPCA grant for trailer park cats. We have Sam's Memorial Foundation every year gives us $2,500 for general spay neuter. So we fine-tuned this a lot over the years. We have vouchers where we collaborate with local veterinarians. We have developed a very good working relationship with them. We get about half of the cost in donations. We're getting much better at asking people to cost share. So I don't know what else to say. Like, I'm very passionate about this. And I think that one of the really important legacies of that particular commission was to revamp the animal control function into a very community-based one. I mean, one of the things I really want to emphasize is having this preventive capacity is something that the community participates in. If you only focus on the other end of the equation, you will have a lot more euthanasia, a lot more fear-based sense of animal control, and you just will not get the community participation that you get. People are so grateful for this when they use our services. And it's not a very big splash in the pond in terms of our activities. You don't see us out there a lot. But we do clinics, we do space shuttles, and we do vouchers. And we're always working. We just have a phone and a small group of people. We have a great bookkeeper. We can show you our financials. That part of it is very up to snuff. And we have a very good working system. So I'm pretty long-winded here. I know too much. And it's been really hard for me to limit what I have to say to those specific important points. But all I'm saying is this $5,000 means a lot to us in terms of being able to continue to provide this service. I think we all want to get more private funding into it. But at this point, it's very foundational. The cities, and yes, we are a nonprofit, but so is Stafford Animal Shelter. They contract with the city. And like I said, it's the same relationship, but not so formalized. And the other thing I would like to offer, and perhaps this is where we have failed, is to formalize this so that the institutional memory is maintained and negotiated, just like it is every year with the Stafford Animal Shelter. So anyway, that is my request for you tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any questions for me?
Is there any questions, clarifications for Mary tonight?
Very well presented.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary.
Mhm.
Is there any other public comment on resolution 4740?
Never does, it rose by any other name.
Yeah.
Hi, Bill Watkins again. Ridgeview Trail. So sidewalks to me are failing. It's just the plan to do the sidewalks. I would say the same in Los Angeles. I'd say the same in Detroit. I'd say the same here. The program for that is not working. For a community that cares, for a government that cares. John Hancock said government was for safety. If it wasn't for security, what else would it be for? That's what it is. It's for security. I personally go with security half and infrastructure half. It's half and half. Personally, I don't believe in health insurance and things that frankly blend into my spiritual program. And I believe in a separation of church and state. And I think our health insurance and our obsession with the white coats, I call them, is straying into violating, we're going into areas that are experimental. And so much of our budgets, and I'll get to Livingston, are in experimental areas that again cross into areas that are just controversial. I haven't seen the benefit of medication from the white coats.
Excuse me, Bill?
Yeah.
Could you?
I'm talking about the budget,
yeah,
2018.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing, and I've seen your budget's got insurance in it, health insurance. It's got a lot of things, and I see a street maintenance budget, and I've just been explained to by Michael over here that businesses are supposed to maintain their sidewalks or are responsible for them. But I'm trying to inspire is a rethinking of this budget and really intervening on the sidewalks area. I'm doing that from the Crow Nation as well as an honorary representative and someone who publishes with them. We have forgotten the Great Spirit. We've forgotten how to walk, how to walk, how to walk, how to walk with pride and walk on a beautiful sidewalk. Also, where do children go? Do they go on the street? Children walk. They're on the sidewalk. The government, the city, in my opinion, needs to rethink its budget and begin to help with sidewalks more. The 5,000 allocated, or looking at, I think it's 5,000 for the year. It's your call. It's the bed you're going to sleep in. But we have a high suicide rate, and it's my belief that it's tied in to lack of care. We're not caring about our sidewalks. We're not caring about the children that walk on them. We're not intervening when they don't wear helmets. We are not getting in and caring enough about the cigarette butts in the sidewalks, the weeds all over the sidewalks, the crumbling of the sidewalks. Thank you. Just please rethink that.
Thank you very much. Is there any other public comment on resolution 47? Messed it up again. 4740. Excuse me. Any other comments? Public comment for this public hearing? Like pens, huh?
I didn't bring a pen.
All right. Thank you very much. Last call for a public comment on resolution number 4740. All right. This public hearing is now closed. So is there a motion from the commission on resolution number 4740? And I just want to remind the commission that if anyone on the commission is making a motion to include the spray neuter clinic, that when you make the motion, you make it as amended and specify the amount and for what purpose. Okay. Is there a motion on resolution number 4740?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we pass resolution 4740 with an amendment to give back to the Spain organization $5,000 this next year.
Okay.
I'll second.
So there's a motion by Commissioner Friedman, second by Commissioner Hoagland. Motion on resolution number 4740 with an amendment. Mr. Cardis?
Just for clarification, the motion will be to amend the resolution, so the vote will not be to pass it, only to amend.
So okay, so the first one will be to amend. Okay, so the first motion, Commissioner Friedman, would you like to, was that wording clear enough for that motion?
Yeah, well, we,
Motion to amend 4740 to include $5,000 for the spay and neuter.
Okay, good. All right, so that is the first motion that is on the table. Commission discussion? Commissioner Sandberg.
So the information that Ms. Beebe provided was the fact that the city had raised the licensing fees in the past, and those funds were supposed to be used for the spay and neuter clinic. I think, James, you're probably the only one who was here at that time. Was that, or you weren't here then?
Mary was here.
So Mary was
I
it.
was on the commission, I was the only one that's in this room right now that was actually part of the city, except for Jim. So, all the actors, except for Judy Roy, she was not in this room, but I had lots of, we interacted a lot and had a lot of discussions about it.
Mary, I don't think we can, if you're gonna,
So
I'm sorry,
just let's have finish with our discussion here and then we'll.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
understand.
And I guess my question is if that was truly the spirit of the language. We obviously don't have a document, but, and we still have some of those folks around. I'm curious how directors or are not fighting for funding then that was put in place. I'm just trying to understand how that gets lost if we still have generational folks in these positions that were there during the implementation. How did those discussions get lost during budget time? I know I can't direct that at you, Mr. Cardus, but that kind of baffles me. So my question, you did have an answer for something for me.
I was just going to verify. I talked to Steve Caldwell about this issue.
Yeah.
And he was on the commission at the time, and he verified that was the intent when they raised the licensing fees.
Okay. Wow. I mean, because it makes sense once, Ms. Beebe provided the information. I just trying to figure out how that gets lost.
I can tell you exactly how it gets lost. That's an easy question. People change and the memory goes. And if that was a verbal agreement, it's just that if it's not written, there's no paper record.
No, I understand that, James. My question is more of, people like Judy who've been in animal control and CORSA for a while, and these other folks that have been in their positions. I guess philosophically, I question why they're not going to bat for things they may have helped implement.
I have an answer to that, actually.
Oh, okay.
I doubt Judy was actually involved in that level of discussion, and I'm sure it was transparent to her that the spay and neuter clinic was set up. That was something that was done at the commission level. Probably the philosophy of that probably didn't trickle that far down into the administration. So if you still had a commissioner that was there, or a city, manager who had been a part of making that deal, then I think it would have remained. But I think you get too far down in the implementation in the city staff, and they don't understand, or they've never been given the reasoning for how it happens, or how it's funded, or what the mechanism is that
Sure.
works.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if I.
So I guess I'll just state that I'm voting against the budget for same comments I made at the previous meeting. So I won't obviously be voting for an amendment, but I guess I just wanted to point out to Ms. Beebe, it's not to your request that I'm not voting for it. I'm voting against the budget. So I just want to make that clear. Yeah.
And it would be completely appropriate to vote for the amendment if you're in favor of the spay and neuter clinic and still vote against the budget. That's completely a consistent position, so there's no problem with that. They're not tied. I don't want you to think that you have to vote against the amendment if you're going to vote against the resolution.
I think they're tied.
Not necessarily.
Philosophically, we'll disagree.
Okay, that's absolutely.
Thank you.
You yield? You're okay. Other commission comments? Discussion, Commissioner Hoagland?
I know we as a city work really hard on our budgets, and the commission works really hard on it. But I am a little leery of this budget for reasons like we have cut out some of the funding, and I know that we're lean, we're trying to stay lean, we're trying to have our 16% reserve, yes. And so, but I have a hard time liking a budget that cuts back on our pro-action. And I feel like we did cut a lot of that this year in our programs of trying to prevent things down the road versus responding, reacting to them when they come up. And so this, us cutting some things, that's frustrating to me. I'm not against the budget, but I'm not for it 100% as well because of those cuts. And I'd like to see us work this year to get some of the funding back in various ways. I understand.
Are there any other commission comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is a tough one, and I understand what Commissioner Holden was talking about. But it struck me after we made the decision that was more money on the table, which would help us put this budget together. And I'm on a lot of nonprofit boards, but I'm on some nonprofit boards where we don't get any money from the city, and I'm saying, okay, if you're gonna give it to somebody else, why can't I ask it for the organization I'm on? And you drag yourself crazy. So I think in this case, it's for the best in the future. Because it's just not fair to not equalize all the way through. This is a non-profit town. I mean, we have got a lot of organizations, great work. And I'd love to handle and give each one of them. The only thing I saw was Mary Beebe's that was almost a city thing to begin with. You know, it was open to the city. So as soon as I read her letter, I said, my God, we didn't have this information at our fingertips. I kind of pushed that aside as a different situation. But it's a tough area. And we were in an organization I'm with this year. We were hit very badly by lack of county funds and city funds and so on and so forth. And we found other devices to make it up. So age-old discussion, we'll be talking about this from now on. So it's a tough one. I think we started a process that will help in the future to clear the work, so we don't have to honor one and not another. I do.
Any other commission comments? Okay, our first motion is on the amendment. So may we have roll call on the amended motion?
Chairperson Bennett,
Yes?
Commissioner Hoagland,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Or
Commissioner Sandberg.
Against.
Motion passes. Okay, so the amendment passes. Now we're looking for a motion on the resolution itself, resolution number 4740 for the for fiscal years 2017, 2018 budget. So is there a motion from the commission?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we pass resolution 4740.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so a motion by Commissioner Friedman, second by Commissioner Schwartz,
Just to clarify, the motion will be to pass as amended.
as amended. Okay. Okay, so should I state that from the chair's position here first? Okay. All right, so we are passing resolution number 4740. The fiscal year 2017-18 budget as amended. May I get those motions and seconds again, please?
Mel?
Yeah, do you want now? What do you want now?
I'm sorry, I didn't state the resolution correctly. Could you restate your motion again, or just?
For this?
Yeah, just, is there a motion for Resolution 4740 as amended.
I make a motion on the draft resolution 4740 as amended.
Great, thank you very
And I
much.
second that.
Second. So there is a motion by Commissioner Friedman, a second by Commissioner Schwartz. Is there any other further commission discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Chairperson Bennett,
Yes?
Commissioner Hopland,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman,
Four.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Or
Commissioner Sandberg.
Against.
Motion passes. So tonight, that is all the resolutions for public hearing. There are no ordinances. We do have one resolution. That resolution is number Resolution 4746, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Livingston, Montana, authorizing the city manager to sign a general services agreement with Atsaroka Abatement LLC for the necessary asbestos abatement in the downtown vault spaces. Mr. Tardus.
This resolution gives me the ability to sign the contract. I'd just like to mention that we were able to go with the local provider, Livingston Company, as well as the fact that it came in at well under budget, about $17,000 or $18,000 under the projected initial cost for this asbestos.
All right. Is there a motion from the commission on resolution number 4746?
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 4746.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
So there's a motion by Commissioner Schwartz, and a second by Commissioner Hoagland. Is there any commission discussion, questions, or clarification? Commissioner Sandberg.
I'm just trying to understand the flow of steps in this process. So TD&H did the inspection. Was that part of their services they provide us, or did we have to pay extra to them?
I think there was a fee for that study.
Okay. Can you get to me at some point what that was?
Yeah.
And I guess I would just follow up by saying how we delineate, we already pay them contractually to do services for us. So where we delineate what they do for us for their fee annually and where we have to pay in advance. Okay. And then, so then did they go out for bid? Is that how they received the?
For the asbestos abatement? Yes, we went up for, I think we had three contractors that replied for the bid, and this was the lowest bid and local, so we thought it was a great bid.
Okay, great, thank you.
Is there any other commission discussion, comments, clarification? Commissioner Schwartz.
Just a comment, it's nice to have somebody local doing this. That work. And that's such a nice price. I am familiar with asbestos abatement. Had my guys go through training for it and all that, and something else. Thank you.
Any last comments, clarification from the commission? Is there any public comment on resolution number 4746? Public comment? All right, we have a motion, a second. May we have roll call, please?
Chairperson Bennett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hopland,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Or
Commissioner Sandberg.
4.
Motion passes. Last item on the agenda for action is discuss, approve, deny the HOOT organizer's request for open container waiver for the HOOT on August 3rd, 2017. Mr. Curtis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For understand, this is an annual request that has been in the past granted. However, the one thing I didn't include in the agenda that I would like to ask to include in the motion is the time frame is included from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., but it did not include the actual location. So it would be the 2 blocks from Park to Lewis on Main Street.
Let's get that. So 2 blocks from Lewis to Main?
Park to Lewis on Main.
Park to Lewis on, okay, 2 blocks. Park to Lewis on Main. And from 4 to 10?
4 p.m. to 10.
All right. Is there any questions or clarification from the commission? on the hoop waiver? Is there any public comment? Yes, sir.
Trying to steal the pen.
Okay.
Just real quickly, I see
Bill,
Bill
I'm sorry.
Watkins,
Yeah. State your name and address.
1222 Ridgeview Trail.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So, just pushing back, as we say in journalism world, these things come up a lot, liquor licenses and things of this nature. If not this time, I hope the commission thinks about children and what's best for children of Livingston when you make these decisions. That's just something I hope we look at. Second, before I sit down again, is I hope cleanup is considered deeper than I saw with the parade, and whether that comes from the city or a volunteer crew, and that's really set up well. I was the only one cleaning after the parade that I saw, sidewalks and gutters. So those are the two things I hope is really considered and thought of for again, mostly for children. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Are there any other public comment? Go ahead and state your name and address for the record. Be sure to sign in as well.
Of course. John Lowell, 523 North 3rd Street. My wife Joanne and I are the promoters of the hoop, and we have always strived to make this event family friendly and children friendly. We have a kids area, and we have actually we've asked the city to provide a street cleaner at the end of the night. In the past, my wife and I have gone out and been picking up cigarette butts with our fingers. So we're very concerned about the cleanliness of the hoop. And excuse me, I think we've been pretty successful in the past. So trying to make it a family-friendly thing. Yes, we are asking for a waiver, but I think people have been pretty well behaved in the past. So I guess that's it. We're looking for a family-friendly event and a clean, great event for Livingston.
Thank you very much, John.
Right.
Is there any other public comment? All right, so is there a motion from the commission? And the motion should include the location, which is the 2 blocks from Park to Lewis on Main Street, and the hours from 4 to 10 p.m.
If I may just comment.
Oh, yes, Commissioner Swartz.
From what I'm reading, it is here. Does call from 4 to 10 that day. It's right near the end. Obviously, waiver for open liquor.
Okay.
Or open, whatever you're calling it, and then Main Street from Park to just past Lewis. Is that what we're looking at?
Main Street from Park to Lewis.
That's in here too. Well, that's a street closer. Oh,
It's in there, it just isn't specifically stated.
and that was the open container contained to that area. Yeah, okay. Okay. So I have, I'm now make a motion. He's good.
Go ahead, Darrell.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 4746.
No.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, action item, I wrote it in the wrong section. Action item A. With, should I use the word amendment?
No, you can just say
No, just-
requirements.
Stated requirements, closure from Park to Lewis on Main, and open container from 4 to 10.
Second. Okay, so there is a motion by Commissioner Portland, a second by Commissioner Friedman. We've already had discussion, we've had public comment. May we have roll call, please?
Chairperson Bennett,
Yes?
Commissioner Holden? Yes. Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Or
Commissioner Sandberg?
Or
Motion passes. All right. So we have, we usually have city manager comments first. Okay, city commission comments. No, hold it. We got the numbers messed up. City manager comments, okay. City manager, do you have any comments?
we have to get the last
I
word.
do have a comment, and it's probably your favorite topic. We are very close to being able to go out to bid for the water reclamation facility. We're only waiting on the TSEP contract at this point. But the ability to start construction early will be significant cost savings to the city. So I'd ask that we schedule a special meeting just on approving that contract. It will be unless the contract comes through prior to that meeting, it will be contingent upon TSEP contract approval, that I would then be allowed to go out and award the bid to the lowest bidder. So I'll give you the background information on that if you want to schedule a special meeting for 25 July, which is next Tuesday. Anytime you want.
I'm available anytime after 5:30.
So how about 6 p.m. on the 25th? For a special meeting for the wastewater treatment plant?
Yeah, the water reclamation facility bid approved.
As usual, I'm the loser. I have nothing that day, so.
Can you make it right at 5:30?
Want to make the
Or
right?
would you rather have 6?
No, I can, I can squeeze it at 5:30 if I'm a couple minutes late.
Okay, so 5:30. Okay, so 5:30 on July 25th. 5:30 p.m.
And when will you give us the contract then?
So the contract itself will obviously not be signed until, I'll get it to you at least by the end of the week.
Okay, great.
You'll have some time to review it before I get it to you. Just gotta
Perfect.
make sure it's, finalized before it's in the.
Okay, thank you.
So will this meeting be a meeting that will make a final decision on?
It will authorize me to offer the bid to the winning firm.
Okay.
And you should have already received bids, if not on your side.
Oh, so we have the bids already?
We have all the bids.
Oh, okay.
We're just waiting for the last funding piece to be formalized before we can offer it.
All right, city manager city commission comments. Commissioner Sandberg.
Protocol question for Chair.
Yes.
Is there anything in regards to public comment and making sure that, I want to say this may be a question for Jay too. Making requirements of public comments be factual? I'm just trying to avoid people's emotional perceptions that may get elevated and the comments supplied are not accurate. And it just would seem to really help discussions if we just stuck to the facts. Or can the chair interrupt when somebody makes a generalization that is not factual?
You're asking for a procedural question, and of course, I can always interrupt someone if they're off topic.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, I did that once or twice this evening.
Sure.
But as far as presenting non-factual information, I'm not sure that everyone's comments would be identified as non-factual, unless it was obvious to everyone in the whole world. I mean, some people are making opinions.
And I'm not speaking to opinion, but if I can give an example.
Okay.
If somebody says there were no firefighters on duty at the fire, and we know that indeed there were 3, just making sure that that gets corrected, or
I would, yeah.
and so I'm thinking more factual.
Yeah, I think that in that case, in that example, every example would be different. In that example, if the administration had the correct answer, we would request the administration to address that particular comment. Or if it was a comment that one of the commissioners would like to answer because they have the factual information, there's nothing wrong with that. I used, and just a note, I used to try to correct every non-factual information. At this point, I just let people have their opinions. A lot of times for myself, but if at any time a commissioner can correct an error, or the administration can correct an error.
Okay. I just want to make sure that, I understand opinions are different, but if somebody's declaring that the city is not doing X, Y, or Z, or did not, and in essence we did, I guess I would just want to, for the record, make it clear that that was not accurate. That was not an accurate opinion.
Okay.
But thank you, now I know that I could just raise my hand or, okay.
We'll just keep our protocol, and when someone is done with their comments, if any commissioner wants to clarify a non-factual comment made by the public, or even another commissioner, they're certainly welcome to do so.
Okay, great, thank you.
Very welcome. Commissioner Suarez. Are you done?
Oh, that's good.
Are you done?
I am, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Suarez.
I'm done.
Okay, Commissioner Friedman.
I'm good to go.
Okay, Commissioner Hoagland.
I have a question to maybe be addressed at another time. So I just want to put it out there first. I have people ask me about the black lights that we're putting in to replace our current lights downtown, in particular, the antique looking lights. Are there plans for those to go other places in the community, and what streets are they going on?
I think they're just mainly in the historic district, right?
Those lights are slated for the downtown area,
Okay,
in the URA district primarily.
And someone, they brought up, why are they not in compliance with the night sky ordinance? Because they shine out instead of down. Any comments on that? Was it just what it started?
We are in compliance.
No, because they shine out instead of down.
I will look into that and get you.
Okay. That was just a question.
Yeah, because I think Avenue was, real insistent on that. Do we have
maybe
a city ordinance regarding that? Or is,
yeah, would that be an acceptable alternative outside of that? Okay. I was just.
I'll do some research.
Okay, so I'd love an answer so I can comment. One last thing, I'm looking forward to the hoot. Every year I am now.
All right, the only comment I have on your comment is, I've always heard, my understanding has been that those streetlights are not compliant, night sky compliant. So, that's the truth.
Yeah,
But-
really.
But if the city manager says that's not a real answer, but we'll take it. Could be an opinion, or it could be a rumor.
Well, if they are compliant, we'll find out why they're compliant. Thanks.
Or if they're not technically.
well, I always thought it was just, it was more up, not speak out, but whatever happened.
Anyway, just so everyone knows, we will find out for sure. If they aren't, we'll put little shades on them. Get little shades. All right, is there any public comment tonight for the end? Yes,
You want me to come up again?
yes, come up and state your name and
Okay, Mary
address.
Beatty, Mary Beatty, 219 South East Street, and I wanted to answer Sarah's question about how these agreements get lost. And part of that responsibility was our responsibility to communicate over all these years. We had information, we could have come and done our presentation. Instead, we did the easier thing and we went along and worked with management. And of course, everybody knew at that time had been involved. So it was based on an understanding. And I think the lesson in this is that that was partly our responsibility, that that knowledge got lost. And I think that we'll just have to do better in the future. And, you know, also make sure that we make formalize those agreements with the county. We've always signed a memorandum of understanding. And I also wanted to let you know that the Spay Neuter Project sells the best lemonade in the world, or the world's best lemonade, however you want to say it, and we will be at the Hoot. So if you want to support us and the Hoot, we'll put them all together. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I appreciate meeting you. And so it's fun to be back in this room. It's amazing how I forgot protocol. So thanks, James, for getting me in line a couple of times tonight.
You're welcome. That's
And we'll
okay.
move forward. Thank you.
We do have one question about that lemonade. Is it family friendly?
It is very family friendly.
Okay, good.
Yes, we don't have a license otherwise.
Yes, come on up.
Tricia Grabo, 204 East Calendar Street. I want to address just quickly a couple of things that were brought up. Night sky, in fact, I was on the commission, I think Mary was as well, when we did pass the night sky ordinance. And in fact, we had a pretty thorough study of those lights, that they were night sky friendly. And the issue is, if the light goes straight up, it can be dispersed sideways, but there is a study on that. So you can look it up, but it's there. They are night sky friendly. Secondly, I want to say something about the comment about the Hoot. I have never seen an organization as good as the Hoot. And in fact, cleanup is amazing. Involving children is amazing. How it is so well organized that 12,000 people could be in downtown Livingston and get along wonderfully and have the best time of their life. And we have the two people who organized that Hoot in the room, and I just want to give a round of thank you and for being so beautifully organized. A real model for the rest of us. I have two questions. One is, my tax bill this year was half. And so my understanding is the city's been kind of scrambling because they didn't get as much money as they had anticipated. Is that true? I'm asking this as a city manager. And if, in fact, we didn't get as much money as we had thought we were going to get, and because our property got reassessed differently, and now we've got another bill for property taxes going up. If in fact that is true, what percentage did the property tax money revenue go down?
I think we're actually pretty close to projections for this year.
Are we?
I don't think there was a significant shortfall from what we were expecting.
Okay, well, I'm very grateful for that because I really enjoyed paying my taxes this year.
Was it your taxes or your assessment?
My taxes.
Really?
My taxes were half of what they were the year before, and gratefully so. But then I got another assessment that says it's going to go up. A lot of people have got a second assessment, and in fact, they're going back up, and I have to go see the appeal, what's happening. So it's an interesting roller coaster ride right now, because what happened with our taxes, as you may well know, prior to 2008, our property taxes were assessed, our property was assessed at the pre-2008 level. And then we had 2008 recession, and that earlier assessment for our property at a higher rate stayed on. So we were being assessed, our property wasn't worth what they were saying it was worth because of the recession. As a matter of fact, most buildings downtown lost about 30% of their value in 2008. So we were paying a higher rate for a significant period of time.
So were all the homeowners.
Yeah, so were the homeowners, yeah. So it was really hard on a lot of Livingston. The main reason I'm here is it is not necessarily the city's responsibility, but I want to mention something that talk about institutional memory. I had lunch with Warren McGee every weekend for almost 5 years, and he was the one, along with Tom Hallen, who had done the work on the lagoon in terms of cleaning out the bottom of the lagoon. I don't know if any of you were here at the time, but in fact, they scraped out the bottom of the lagoon. And he said at the time, Tom Hallen wrote, Warren said, a stack of grants about this high in order to do that reclamation on the lagoon. He said at the time that we were visiting that the inflow into the lagoon was, they put it too low. They assumed that the water, they put it above what the water might fill in, so that there would always be a stream coming into the lagoon. But in fact, it was too low. And he felt at the time that it should have been raised. It still should be raised. And he also said, if we don't do something about the lagoon, it will start to create algae and so forth because the flow isn't sufficient. And I'm seeing more and more evidence over time that that's beginning to happen to our lagoon. That doesn't necessarily have to be done by the city, by the way, because in fact, Warren McGee and Tom Hallen did all the work on that. But it is something I think the city has to take a serious look at. Warren isn't here, he died at 102 3/4 to tell us, but some of us have had those conversations with him. And Tom Hallen's son is still alive. And it is something that I think it's worth discussing. Raising the height of the inflow into the lagoon, and in fact going through this lagoon one more time and emptying it and getting all the sediment out that has been accumulating over this period of time. So I just want to mention that to the commission.
Commissioner, if you would, please have your friend who knows any information contact the administration.
I will.
All right. Thank you very much.
It's Tom Hallen's son.
James, I'll just add that I do remember when they used to drain the lagoon when I was a child. So they did do that. I don't remember them cleaning it, but I don't remember. But it was, I don't know if it was annual, but they did do that. And the recent algae that we've been seeing over the last few years is something some of us lifers haven't seen before. So it is different. So.
You know who maybe was responsible for that?
I don't. I was like a teenager. I don't remember anything really, except that it, they would drain it because I lived on Yellowstone and we walked down to the park and it would just be, there's no water in it. So basically they just shut the valve off to the river so nothing can come in. That's what they do.
That was done by Warren McGee. Okay. But with the blessing of the city. But it was done by Warren McGee and Tom Hallen on a regular basis.
All right. Any other public comment?
Go ahead, go ahead. Please.
I will keep this short and I hope that it's appropriate. I'm Dixie Lee Bullock and I live at 606 South 10th. And I have a concern about the park that's across from me. It's used all of the time and the trees. I'm assuming since it has been dedicated as a city park, the trees are in deplorable condition and a lot of kids are there. A lot of kids are climbing the trees and I really think that it should be checked out. They're big branches, they're dead, and it's too bad to lose the trees. But my concern would be a liability probably to the city if a branch falls on some little kid, and it is used all the time, which is wonderful. It's a very nice park. And also, several years ago, the city made a statement that if the homeowners didn't take care of their weeds, the city would do it for them and they would be charged. The park is, it was a blanket of dandelions and now it's thistles and morning glory. I'd appreciate it if somebody would look at that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Bill Watkins, 1222 Ridgeview Trail. Thanks for hanging out with me on my 45th birthday. It's been fun. I appreciate it. A few weeks ago, I was promised help cleaning sidewalks and gutters as a volunteer. Shannon Holmes behind me promised the best, and it blew up in the next couple of days. He talked with Jay, city attorney, and there was some liability concern or some sort of bureaucratic issue. What followed was me trying to clean and getting harassed by a guy named Randy Chambers, who was employed to clean at night in the business district, and he saw me as a threat, I guess, to what he was doing, and I was harassed, bringing police out twice out of 3 times harassed. I made a full police report, and it's been going okay because you do small town things eventually. It's a small town, and you talk to mutual friends and work things out between individuals like Randy and myself. It's better. But I would hope the city, maybe in conjunction with the business district, thinks of a way to welcome volunteers better than I was welcomed to clean sidewalks and gutters. Just to try to, help me, help you, help the volunteers, help you, especially when you're only spending $5,000 for the whole year on sidewalks. And someone raises their hand, they want to do some cleaning. I just hope there's a way to think about signing waivers for volunteers so you don't have a liability concern, and just have them go out and help and get a sanction, get a blessing from the city. Otherwise, maybe you get what you had. You had a guy harassing me. I was on his turf, according to him. So that's some concern. I hope something's thought of on that. Second, before I go, and thanks for humoring me, I hope someday, not just here, but everywhere in the nation, we do better with police as far as budgeting so that they can enforce every law and code on the books. I wonder what % of the codes they're actually enforcing. I would guess about 20%. If you look at all the codes, all the traffic codes, riding bikes on sidewalks on Main, looking at all the codes and budgeting and actually enforcing them or changing the code. Why have code if we're not going to enforce it? Intervening and saying no to somebody riding a bike on Main, it's a kind of a bummer because they're going to get ticked. You're going to tick someone off. They're going to be displeased. But you do that so that 10 people don't get scared out of their brains by someone speeding by them while they're riding their little baby in their carriage, or they're a little child just walking down the street. We have these codes for a reason. To that, I would say, I hope while we have bike patrols, I hope foot patrols are considered really soon. If not by armed police, some sort of security patrol walking the sidewalk, enforcing code. Number one of all for me is littering. Littering code. How many citations for littering were given out last year? It's something I'll look into. But I just think we could be cleaner. It's not just here in Livingston. I'd say the same thing in Los Angeles. I'd say the same thing in Boston. So I just feel we could do better. Yeah, maybe someday I belong somewhere else in England, or go back to my heritage and find somewhere that has the care and values. But in the meantime, we have laws on the books. So when I speak about enforcing the code, actually there's an authority I have in my voice. It's on the books. I'm on the side of law. So I hope the police, Dale, I hope we can get budgeted so we can actually enforce our code. Appreciate it. God bless it. And thanks.
Thank you very much. Don't take the pen. All right.
Conditional learning.
All right. So any other public comment tonight? Any other public comment? Only thing I would want to check on is I'm just unsure that we're only spending $5,000 on sidewalks. Seems like we're spending a lot more money than that.
That's the sidewalk fund.
Okay.
And we actually should not be spending very much money on sidewalks because it's property.
Got it. Nothing else? Okay, so, is there a motion for adjournment? So moved. Okay. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor, aye. All opposed? Leave. So this meeting of the Livingston City Commission is adjourned at 8:21.
We didn't go downtown.
Oh, it's definitely.